everyone, welcome. Let's talk about all things grants and residencies, from the search to developing your ideas to the submit. I'm Lisa Kramer. I'm RISD's Grants and Residency Manager. I'm not an artist. I always start my presentations that way, which I know is a bit odd at RISD and it's a bit of a stretch, but my not being a formally trained artist may be a benefit to you. You're surrounded by talented artists. I'm another voice. I work to help you look at your proposals and applications in a different way, which can be particularly helpful if you're applying for grants that are not solely art or design focused, or in which you have to make a case to a variety of audiences, to a non-art specific audience. What I do have is a lot of grant writing experience. I've spent my professional career in international programs and grant management. In addition, there's an entire team at the RISD Career Center here to help. We are happy to meet with you through individual or drop-in appointments about grants, residencies, internships, or jobs. So what is a grant? The definition is quite simple: agree to give or allow. So a grant could be called a grant, a scholarship, a fellowship, an award. Sometimes these words are used interchangeably. Sometimes they are actually a bit misused, but usually a grant is funding for a specific project which supports the funder's mission and or interests. A scholarship is usually an award for past work to continue academic-based work. A fellowship usually has some sort of service commitment, such as teaching or an internship. An award can be any of these. Don't let the word grant scare you. It is really an umbrella word for opportunity, and it's really not that complicated. It's about finding a good match for like interests. The organization, the grantor, has an interest, the mission, and the money. They seek out people, grantees, with skills and experiences to help promote, enhance, and engage in their mission. Sometimes you will see this called an RFP, which just means request for proposal. You, the grantee, make the case for why you and why your project in some sort of application. They decide who and what they want to support, the award. You, the grantee, fulfill the grant purpose and document the activities and results. A grant is an opportunity for focused time, studio space, and project funding to work, study, explore, research, implement an idea, travel, or network for all levels, from freshmen to graduates and emerging to established artists. Of the 400 plus grants I've written, each one was very different. Some took a day, some a few weeks, some a couple of months. Each funder has unique interests, eligibility requirements, and processes. But developing a proposal has a number of steps in common: search, research, plan, develop, write, submit, wait, and learn. So let's start with the search. The best place to start is with the RISD Career Center website. You will find all things grants and residency here. I'm not going to review everything in detail. I'll touch on the highlights to get you started. Always start closest to home. So let's first look at the RISD Career Center Managed Grants page. These managed grants are grants the RISD Career Center has some connection to. The funding might come from RISD or is matched by RISD. RISD might nominate candidates, or RISD provides support through the application process. I'm going to quickly run through each managed grant. Know that detailed information on all these awards is found on the RISD Career Center Managed Grants page. First, we'll start with the biggie, the RISD Maharam Fellowship, $5,000 for an unpaid summer internship in an organization where artists and designers are not usually found. This is not a last-minute grant. You have to design your internship experience, develop the internship relationship, and there are a number of essay questions. Keep in mind you can apply for this grant the February of the year you are graduating for an internship that will take place the summer after graduation. Undergraduate internship grants. These grants of $3,000 are for internships that are unpaid, low paid, or present financial challenges. The specific focus of these grants may shift a little each year, so use the managed grant page carefully. This grant opportunity from St. Botolph is an unrestricted $3,000 award for emerging New England artists. And Wingate, this is an incredible flexible opportunity for seniors who work in craft, $15,000. Elizabeth used the funding for travel to and from South Dakota to continue her work developing an arts program for Lakota youth at the Cheyenne River Reservation, and for residency fees, including a residency in Iceland. This is a fully funded fall residency opportunity at Anderson Ranch in Colorado for those graduating in June. Monson Arts offers a month-long, fully funded design residency for RISD students graduating in June and alumni. Now, the next two, Oxbow and Skowhegan, are not accepting new applications for summer 2021 due to COVID. They are choosing residents from their 2020 application pool, but they will be back. So keep in mind for next year, Oxbow in Michigan offers a fully funded residency opportunity for 13 weeks in the summer. At Oxbow, you participate as both an artist and a staff member. And Skowhegan in Maine also offers a fully funded summer residency. Then there's Fulbright, my favorite managed grant. However, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail as this is a presentation of its own. So just a little about Fulbright. Fulbright is primarily a cross-cultural engagement opportunity for fully funded 9 to 12 month independent study research projects in 140 plus countries. You design your own projects and develop host country relations. It is a complicated grant with lots of moving parts. Know that you can apply through RISD up to 3 years after graduation. RISD is a top producing Fulbright institution in the specialized institution category with 89 RISD awardees to 43 different countries. On our webpage, you will find 2 important documents to help you through the process, RISD's checklist and deadlines and RISD's getting started. And there are RISD Fulbright info sessions in the winter and spring. Keep in mind, if you're applying through RISD, you have to meet our internal deadlines. This is an intense process. We are here to help, but we have to keep all our applicants on track. We often say that once you apply for a Fulbright, all of their grants are easy. Also, when looking for inspiration, go to the RISD Fulbright alumni website. You will find project summaries, stories, and photos to get you motivated. Keep in mind, the grants I've mentioned are grants managed by the RISD Career Center. Your RISD department may also offer grants or awards. Do stay on top of what is going on in your department. Moving on beyond RISD, there are numerous grant resources with search databases, which is great, but it can be overwhelming. They tend to serve you best when you have that project in mind and you know what you need. Consider some keywords, and then it's best to just jump in and start poking around and see where the search takes you. I'm going to review 4 key resources to get you started. The New York Foundation for the Arts, NYFA, is an excellent source for the arts. Know that it is not limited to New York City or New York State. Start your search by going to awards, where you can enter specific criteria to narrow or broaden your search. For example, in this search, I've filtered cash award and photography, which resulted in 104 opportunities. You will find a brief description of each to help you narrow your search, and then a link to their website. The Foundation Center includes all grants. It is not necessarily arts focused, which gives you a lot more to search through. But you may find that a non-art specific organization where an artist could make a difference, you could be a unique applicant that stands out. You do need a subscription to search this database. It is $19.95 a month. You can sign up for a month when you have some time, do a number of searches, then unsubscribe. Or you may be able to access it through your public library. The third key resource is the state arts agencies. Here you can find information on every state's art agency. Obviously, the expectation is that these grants benefit the people of the state, so often a requirement is that you are a resident of the state for a certain number of years. You may be in transition now, but wherever you end up, remember to check and see what is going on in your state. For example, for my home state, Minnesota, you'll find a number of grant opportunities, not just for organizations, but for individual artists. You will find that most state art agencies will have a website with a grants page similar to this. The RISD Career Center has our own searchable database of opportunities. These are opportunities that our staff and peer advisors have found to be of particular interest to RISD students and alumni. For example, if you search on film, animation, and video, you will get 41 hits, which you can narrow with additional keywords, review the basic description, and then move on to the funder's website. These databases and lists are all great, but there's no magic bullet. You have to make the search your own. Your grant and residency search is unique to you. So in your search, in addition to these online resources, get creative. Ask your professors, where have they found funding for projects? Where have their students? Faculty are often the best sources of discipline-specific grants. Ask your classmates, peers, and other artists and designers, what did they find? What actually worked for them? Hearing from others like you will make it real and show you it is possible. Find and review the resumes of artists you are interested in and admire. Search their website, find their resume, and see what awards they have received. Build a library of opportunities for now and later. Once this is on your mind, you will start hearing about opportunities. And there will be some that you aren't eligible for right now, and some you will find that you missed the deadline. Keep track of the ones you want to research, the ones you may want to apply for now, the ones for next year, and the ones you don't want to forget about in the future when you are ready. For example, this is a simple Excel spreadsheet. You could have tabs for time, now, after graduation, 2025, and or you could have tabs by type or grant or of residency. Note that I'm not organizing by due date, but rather when I want to start working on the grant. If the grant is due in February, starting in February isn't likely going to help you. Factor in plenty of lead time. This slide is specifically for international students. You know more than anyone how challenging it is to find funding for education or projects outside your home country. It is true that most funders in the US focus on US citizens, but not all, and especially residencies, are open to international students. Do search around and ask. Ask the financial aid office at any school you are going to or planning to go to. Ask your college departments, like the Career Center, and know that grants like that RISD funds are open to international students. Ask organizations you and family members are connected to. Search these online databases like the Foundation Center. Google search on grants for international students, and you will get lists of ideas. And if citizenship eligibility is not clear, don't hesitate to email and ask. Find that out right away. Let's talk about residencies. Residencies, like grants, are also individually unique. They could be for an enrolled student, emerging artist, or mid-career artist. They could be totally open for you to work. They could come with a work component, or they could be theme-based, asking you to explore a specific issue. They can be found all over the world, on islands, in the mountains, on farms, and on ships. Only 25% of US residencies are fee-based. That means if you are accepted, only 25% ask you to pay a fee. Most are merit-based and offer grants to pay for residency fees or some sort of work exchange. Some may even provide a stipend for supplies. Start your search here, again, at the RISD Career Center website under Artist Resources. You will find all things residencies here, including our top search sites. The Alliance of Artist Communities is by far the best way to start, as this is an association of residencies who have met certain standards. On their residency tab, you will find the search function. Go to the yellow left side column. Here you can enter your criteria and start your search. You likely know the biggies: the Fine Arts Work Center in Provincetown, Penland in North Carolina, McDowell in New Hampshire. But you also might find some smaller, lesser known, super interesting residencies, such as this residency in a construction and demolition center in Philadelphia. The Laundromat Project is in, you guessed it, a laundromat, which focuses on neighborhood change. This one brings art and ecology together in Oregon. This one is a theme-based residency at Santa Fe Art Institute in New Mexico. The 2020 theme was labor. The 2021 theme is revolution. There are residencies in our national parks from Hawaii to the Grand Canyon, where you might work alongside staff and advance your practice while being immersed in amazing nature. And there are international opportunities. Here's one in a medieval village in Burgundy, France. Here's one in an old high school in Japan. And here's a theme-based residency in Finland. Keep in mind that international residencies can be expensive, especially considering you will most likely have to pay for airfare too. Do ask about financial support if it is not easily found on their website. Sometimes they may have some support, but just not advertise it. If you haven't, be sure to sign up to receive the Alliance newsletter. You will receive notice of opportunities and links to residency news, articles, and advice. Also, on the same tips page, I want to point out a very helpful worksheet. Go to Tips for Artists, then Fund. You will find an Excel worksheet that walks you through developing a residency budget, which you can download and make your own. It will help you think through your financial needs, not only for a residency, but a project grant maybe, or even setting up a studio. Do consider that grants and residencies have deadlines and are often on annual cycles. If you need project money quickly, consider crowdsourced funding. RISD has a Kickstarter page with over 6 million in funded projects. If you go this route, be sure to contact the Career Center to get connected to this page. Sometimes generous donors are out there looking to fund projects, and they'll start with RISD. Most of you are probably familiar with crowdsourced funding for products or for community projects, where the audience, benefits, and outcomes are clear. But there are also successful funding campaigns for smaller, more individual projects or experiences, like residencies. Here are 3 successful campaigns for residency funding. The second step is research. Once you find an opportunity, research it carefully. The application can be quite simple, only images of your work and a brief statement. Residency applications are often based entirely on your work, but they might include some narrative in hopes of narrowing their pool of applicants. Or the application could be quite complicated with many application pieces like Fulbright or really any government grant. I'm going to use the RISD Maharam Fellowship as an example, which again is found on our RISD Managed Grants webpage. First, know the deadline and that most do not make exceptions. Most grants are on annual cycles. If you miss a deadline, make note for next year and keep checking. Things change from year to year, opportunities and due dates. Review the eligibility requirements. Most guidelines will be quite specific. Is it for enrolled students or alumni? Is it discipline specific? Do you have to live in a certain city or state? Does the project have to benefit a certain community? If you find you are not eligible now, make note of the grant for the future. Understand the grantor's interests. Pull out keywords from their website and guidelines. For Maharam, those might be non-art and design learning and skills gain, work outside of comfort zone, solve problems, strong work ethic, voice in work. Consider and address these key points in your proposal. In fact, write them on top of your working document so you are sure to hit these points. Know your audience. What is important to them? Who do they want to benefit? And who will be reviewing your application? Whether it is artists or community members will make a big difference. Learn from past grant recipients. Find out who they are. What was their background? What were their projects? Usually you can find information on past grantees on the organization website. You may even be able to reach out to them for advice. We find that past grantees are grateful for the opportunity they received and happy to talk with applicants. Understand all the application components well in advance. Let's look in detail at the possible application components. The application form I mentioned first because this is often, but should not be last minute. Know that the fields are well in advance. Know what you're going to need. Don't let this easy stuff trip you up at the end. Narrative. There's usually going to be some sort of narrative. It could be a proposal, artist statement, personal statement, or essays. It could have few limitations or have very specific questions. And check the word counts. It makes a big difference if the count is in words or characters. Timeline. If they request a timeline, it most likely does not have to be super specific, week by week, but rather in the first months or in the first quarter of the grant. But this is where you can prove that your project is feasible. This is where the reader can see how your project could happen. Be as detailed as reasonably possible, but you also want to show you are not too rigid. Find a balance between showing a plan, yet also openness and flexibility. Recommendation letters. Reach out to recommenders early and give them a timeline. Provide a summary of the opportunity and of your proposal. Maybe even give them a template to work with. Consider who will provide the most meaningful support and make the right connection. And consider who will be timely. A RISD Fulbright applicant worked for months on their application. They submitted on time. The third recommender did not. They were not considered for a Fulbright as their application was not complete by the due date and time. Also, don't forget to thank your recommenders and update them along the way. Resume. You may have this all ready to go, but you might need to tailor to the grantor and the project. Know that the Career Center has advisors who can help with resumes. Transcripts. Find out what the process is to receive your transcripts early. It could be a mail process. And check if they are asking for unofficial or official transcripts. Unofficial transcripts can pass through your hands and be uploaded by you. Official transcripts must be sent by the school to the organization directly. Know that the scanning and adjusting process of a transcript may take longer than you think due to watermarks and security on the transcript file. Once uploaded, your transcript should be neat and legible. You are visual artists. Visual material. This may be the most important piece of the proposal, but it is the end of my list because this is what RISD students do well. Do follow the instructions, how many, size, and resolution. Make your case with effective high quality images. Consider every image counts. Every image should tell a story that supports your purpose and path. Curate the order thoughtfully for a cohesive portfolio feel. A curated portfolio shows organized thinking and thoughtfulness. It shows you really care about this opportunity. Make the connection to your grant project. This may not be the time to submit your gallery-ready portfolio. Focus on the fit to your project. And check to see if you can submit image descriptions. Use this space. Not only title, size, and materials, tell us more. This is your chance to write about your work. Take advantage of this space. And here's a tip. Print each image you are considering on half sheets of paper and tape them to a wall. Stand back and really look at them and then move them around to find that compelling flow. In developing a budget, ask for what you need, not more or less. Reviewers are often experts and they will know if it's over or under. They want to know, in a sense, that they are getting the most bang for their buck, but also that it is adequate because they want you to be successful. Here's a template that I made up. If you can choose the format, show your budget in a neat Excel spreadsheet or table. Show that you are a professional. Show off your visual skills and ways of thinking. Show detailed descriptions where possible. And make sure the amounts add up. And make sure it matches the grant amount. Here's another template. If you have the opportunity to show what the full project will cost, add a column to show other funding. This will show your resourcefulness, that your project is on its way, and that they aren't the only one invested. Think of an application and the many components like a puzzle. There are many pieces that have to come together in just the right way at just the right time. Thoughtful organization is an important part of the grant writing process. Let's move on to the planning step. I love this photo. This is a photo of RISD architecture alum Ming Wong's workspace as she was developing a grant for a project in Denmark and Iceland. It highlights the importance of clever organization of all the puzzle pieces. Which brings us to plan. Dedicate time to the process. Set internal deadlines that are earlier than the funders so you have no problem meeting their deadlines. Factor in time for support documents that are not in your control, like recommendations, letter of support, and transcripts. Build an archive of responses. Starting with a blank page can be really overwhelming. Developing a way to keep track of your applications and essays so you can find or reuse the material that you have developed is really going to help you. Again, a simple Excel sheet. Here I've listed the grants I've applied to along with keywords that I can then search on. So if a grant comes up where I want to highlight my language skills, I can search on keywords, find the grant application I submitted in which I address my language skills, then go to the application document that I have saved, copy, paste, and revise as needed for the new grant I'm applying for. Moving on to develop. Grants are primarily about your exploration. There are so many things you want to explore, right? That's excellent. Be open. Think big. But then you are going to have to narrow and focus. Think less is more, especially considering the limited space you have to do it justice. To stand out in a competitive applicant pool to reviewers who are very busy, you will need to keep focused on a single topic. It is better to explore one idea and explain it effectively rather than introduce many ideas poorly. Make your activities and goals feasible. Consider your timeline and your funding carefully. Even if you think or even know it's possible, you don't want your reviewers to feel overwhelmed and question your ambition. A lot of activities, locations, names, players involved, or goals may not sound feasible. What are the 3 things you want your reviewers to remember? 3, that's it. Study shows that humans only remember 3 things. I know even from this presentation, you are likely only going to take away 3 things. Write those 3 important things at the top of your working document and make sure they really jump out. Make a case for why the specific grant or residency. Of course, everyone knows you are applying for different things. You don't put all your eggs in one basket, but you want your reviewers to feel like this is the perfect fit. If this could be any grant or residency or location or any applicant, it's not so interesting. Make your unique case. This may seem confining and uncomfortable. There's so much you want to do and say, but know that your experience will be broader, deeper, and go in directions you didn't expect. So how do you do this? How do you focus and formulate your ideas into a written proposal? It will happen through a process and with time. By tailoring to the grantor's mission, interest, and guideline, through your project research, by working with faculty, a mentor, a grant recipient, a career center advisor, or the RISD Career Center for Arts and Language, through lots of writing and brainstorming. In developing your project and proposal, you will need to hit what I call the W's plus. Who, what, where, why, and when, and the pluses. How? How do you know? So what? We have a resource to help you through this process. If you go back to the RISD Career Center website under Grants and Awards, at the bottom you will find a link to Proposal Development Considerations. This document may help you think through your answers to the W plus questions. It is, in a sense, a way to interview yourself. You can use these prompts as headers to help you focus and then delete later. I'm not going to review each prompt. You can review this on your own as you consider your unique projects and your unique interests. But I will hit on a few important points, sometimes missteps. What is your learning objective? Clearly articulate what it is you want to learn and how you will learn it through this opportunity. What is the context? Don't assume they know. Explain the process or materials or history, especially if reviewers are not artists. For example, if your proposal is about Mongolian gears, a textile dwelling, you first have to explain what it is. Maybe provide some history, its current role, and the pros and cons. And likely you will need to do this in a very short space, which is one reason why focusing on one thing that you can explain well is so important. Who cares? What makes this relevant? Why is this important to you, the funder, the community, maybe even society? For example, if you are interested in Italian puppets, great. But how do you get others on board? How do you speak to what is important to the grantor? Perhaps through what specific artistic or cultural role puppets play. Perhaps by talking about why it is important that the specific art form continues to exist. Does a traditional art form actually have an even more important role in our contemporary technology-focused world? What is the connection? Why is it a good fit for their mission? Refer back to their wording. Make the connections for them. Don't make them guess or read between the lines. Why you? Show your path. Demonstrate that you've done your research and you are prepared, that you have the skills and experience to do this, but also show there's room to grow and learn. If you are already there and you know everything, then why fund you? Show how this grant will move you forward. What is the impact? This is the so what? What difference will this grant make? To you, to the organization, to the community? Usually they want to understand the impact in the short term, but you could include intentions or contributions to the long term without seeming too grand. Now for many, the scariest step, writing. Applying will usually involve some writing. It may be a 250-word essay. It may be 15 250-word essays. Or it may be a complicated project you have to describe in only 2 pages and every word counts. For the most part, grant writing is not so much about being creative. It's about being straightforward and authentic. There are some exceptions. For example, the Oxbow residency application encourages more personality in your responses. However, even if the grantor is open to more creative responses, you still must answer the question. Here are some basic writing tips. Concise, yet compelling and with passion. Professional, yet in your own voice. Grantors are not interested in overly edited writing. They want to hear from you. Get there faster. Don't wait until the end to tell us your goals. Those first 2 to 3 paragraphs are the most important. Show, don't tell. Don't write, I'm a leader, I was president of X club. Tell us how you led. Give us an example. Tell a story. Be accurate in spelling, grammar, and facts. Pay attention to the required formatting. You want a neat application package from beginning to end. You never want to annoy your reviewers with little things like typos or incorrect formatting. Don't risk it. Clear and jargon-free. Know your audience. Don't use RISD lingo, and even be careful of discipline lingo. Again, consider that the reviewers may not be artists and designers. Consider this statement. I will analyze a vernacular of the built environment and corresponding visual hierarchy by investigating urban junctures, material patterns, and the contextual wholes, comparing evolving typologies in order to identify infrastructural outcomes and develop responses to architectural vacancies that could affect the manifestation of spatial relationships and dynamics and of social practice and interactions while adapting for contemporary and historical perspectives. I actually wrote this, but it is really only a slight exaggeration. What you write may make sense to you, maybe even to the RISD world, but it might not make sense to the outside world. You have to be more specific, and you can't rely on discipline lingo to make your point. Here is a focused, specific statement of purpose from a successful RISD Fulbright applicant. To get there, I suggest that you write out a simple overview statement, the W's, at the top of your document and refer back to it. Consider every sentence counts. Why are you telling us this? Does it support your overview statement? Ask someone to read your work and then tell you what they think you are proposing. Does it match? Check your ending for important statements that really should be at the beginning. This speaks to the get there faster. Remember, you can't proofread your own work very well and list others, ideally more than one, and ideally inside and outside your discipline. Word of warning though, try to get feedback early on in your process. Getting additional feedback at the end could throw you off. At the beginning, talk to lots of people and consider everyone's advice, but then make it your own. This is your proposal, your voice. Don't forget RISD's Center for Arts and Language, an excellent resource for brainstorming or fine-tuning your proposal. And then it's time to submit. Set time aside for this process. Don't be rushed. Have all documents ready. Print and proof a hard copy with a red pen. It is always a good idea to print and review. Looking at your work in a different way off a computer is the best way to catch errors. Do not submit on the due date. Seriously, so many things can go wrong at the last minute. Grantors are dealing with way more applications than they can award. For example, Fulbright receives 10,000 plus applications for 2,000 awards. They will not make exceptions. Many grantors will actually warn you in the application to not submit on their due date and that they are not responsible for technical difficulties. So set an internal deadline to submit and stick to it. And then you wait. The wait can be fairly short or a really long time. Most take 1 to 3 months. The Fulbright wait is about 7 months. It is a test of patience. In the meantime, move on and apply for other things. Whether you receive the award or not, you will learn a great deal. Grant development is a character and skill building experience. You will learn from the process. Learn from your mistakes, which you will make. I have made them all. You will learn about yourself and more about what you want to do or what you don't want to do, equally important. And you will learn about other opportunities. The grant writing process itself may launch you off on a new path. A final few things to keep in mind. There is a lot of competition and only so many awards, but why not you? This is not free money. You do have to work for it. There are no special tricks or easy ways. Work through, not around. There are no have-tos. This is not homework. This is something you want to do. Try again. Most grantors encourage you to reapply, and if they remember you, they will appreciate your motivation and commitment. It will not be a waste of time. Grant writing is a process. Be patient and ask for help, especially if you haven't done this before or if it is a complicated grant. You can learn more by meeting with one of our advisors, watching for opportunities in our RISD Career Center e-newsletters, and attending Career Center presentations like this one. Now go and explore. Thank you, everyone.